When music shatters the walls we build, there's something profoundly human about the scene captured in this image. A moment suspended in time where the ordinary architecture of social hierarchy suddenly crumbles under the weight of unexpected beauty. We see a young woman at a grand piano, dressed simply in what appears to be service attire, commanding the attention of a room full of people who likely never expected to see her in that seat. And standing beside her, the man whose assumptions have just been dismantled by the very person he underestimated. This is the story we tell ourselves over and over in countless variations, because it touches something deep within us. It's the fantasy of vindication for everyone who's ever been dismissed, overlooked, or judged by surface appearances. But it's also more than fantasy. It's a reminder of a truth we keep forgetting, that talent, depth, and humanity exist independent of the social costumes we wear. The weight of assumptions, the billionaire boss in this scene, with his downward gaze and clasped hands, embodies a particular kind of reckoning. His posture suggests someone who isn't merely impressed by an unexpected performance. He's experiencing something that's shaking his fundamental understanding of the world around him. This is what makes the image so compelling. We're not just witnessing talented performance, we're watching someone confront the inadequacy of their own perception. Think about what led to this moment. The title tells us she was asked to play as a joke. That detail is crucial because it reveals the casual cruelty that often accompanies privilege. Someone in that room, perhaps the man standing beside her, perhaps others, thought it would be amusing to put her on the spot, to watch her fumble or decline, to reinforce the invisible boundaries that keep people in their place. It's the kind of thoughtless exercise of power that happens when you have never had to consider what it feels like to be on the receiving. But then she sits down and plays, and suddenly, the joke is on everyone who thought they knew her story based on her uniform. The democracy of art. There's a reason why music, more than perhaps any other art form, has this power to level playing fields. You can't fake your way through a piano performance, not in front of an audience that knows what they're hearing. Technical skill is immediately apparent, or its absence is. The piano doesn't care about your background, your accent, your clothing, or your social status. It responds only to the skill and soul you bring to it. This is why the wealthy audience in this image has no choice but to listen, truly listen, perhaps for the first time. The woman at the piano has claimed a form of authority that transcends the social order of the room. In this moment, she's not serving them. They're in service to the music she's creating. They've become the audience, the receivers, while she has become the giver. The power dynamic has inverted, if only temporarily. The man beside her in particular seems to feel this shift acutely. His clasped hands suggest a kind of prayer or supplication, or perhaps he's literally holding himself together as something inside him comes apart. Maybe the music has touched a memory, a mother who played piano, a moment of innocence before wealth complicated everything, a dream he once had before pragmatism and ambition took over. Or maybe it's simpler and more devastating. Maybe he's just realizing with sudden clarity how much he's missed by seeing the world through the narrow lens of social position. The man who must reconsider everything. What's particularly interesting about his reaction is that it's happening publicly. He's surrounded by his peers, his employees, people who look to him as a figure of authority and success. To be moved to tears or near tears in this context requires either tremendous emotional honesty or an experience so powerful that it overwhelms social conditioning. Either way, it suggests that what he's feeling goes deeper than mere appreciation for a skillful performance. There's a specific kind of shame that comes with discovering you've been wrong in a way that reflects poorly on your character. It's one thing to be mistaken about a fact. It's another to realize you've been casually cruel or dismissive of someone's humanity. If he suggested she play as a joke, if he participated in the mockery, then what he's experiencing now isn't just surprise, it's the uncomfortable recognition of his own smallness. This is the moment where privilege must confront its own blindness. When you're accustomed to power, you often don't have to think deeply about the people who serve you. They become functionaries, part of the backdrop of your life, rather than fully realized human beings with their own depths, dreams, and talents. This woman's performance forces everyone in that room to see her, really see her, perhaps for the first time. The vulnerability in his posture is striking precisely because it's so rare. Powerful people are trained to project confidence, control, certainty. They make decisions that affect hundreds or thousands of lives, and they do so with the assumption that they understand the world clearly. But here, in this gilded ballroom, all that certainty has been stripped away. He's been forced into a moment of genuine feeling, and genuine feelings are messy. They don't respect boardroom hierarchies or bank account balances. What the music reveals, we don't know what piece she's playing, but we can imagine it's something with emotional depth. Perhaps a Chopin nocturne with its melancholic beauty, or a Rachmaninoff prelude that builds from tenderness to overwhelming power. Whatever it is, it's speaking to something universal, cutting through the artifice of the gala to touch something real. Music has this peculiar ability to bypass our intellectual defenses and speak directly to emotion. You can build walls around your heart with logic, rationalization, and social conditioning, but a perfectly executed phrase of music can slip through the cracks. It reaches parts of us we've forgotten existed, parts we've maybe spent years trying to bury under ambition and pragmatism for someone who has spent decades in the world of business, where everything is transactional, where relationships are often strategic, where value is measured in quarterly reports. This unmediated encounter with beauty might feel almost violent in its intensity. There's nowhere to hide from it, no way to commodify it or control it. You can only receive it and be changed by it, or resist it and reveal your own emotional poverty. The billionaire has chosen in this moment not to resist, and that choice makes him suddenly human in a way he perhaps hasn't allowed himself to be in years. The audience as witness, the crowd behind them, adds another layer to this tableau. They're dressed in their finest, holding champagne flutes, arranged in the careful choreography of high society. But now they've all been arrested mid-conversation, mid-networking, mid-whatever they were doing before the music started. They've become a collective witness to something unexpected. There's something almost sacred about the way they're standing, silent, attentive, suspended in the moment. The usual social performance has been paused. No one is checking their phone, working the room, or calculating their next move. They're simply present, perhaps for the first time all evening. This is what art can do at its best. It creates a shared experience that transcends individual concerns and connects us to something larger than ourselves. In this room full of people who probably spend most of their time competing with each other, for deals, for status, for social position, the music has created a moment of genuine communion. The woman's quiet power, and what of her? She sits at the piano with remarkable composure, her focus entirely on the music. There's no visible triumph in her. Expression, no I told you so in her posture. She's simply playing, lost in the piece, giving herself over to the music with complete authenticity. This, perhaps, is the most powerful thing about her performance. She's not playing to prove something, not playing for revenge or vindication. She's playing because this is who she is, someone who has studied, practiced, disciplined herself to master this incredibly difficult art form. The joke was theirs. The music is hers. There's a dignity in her focus that stands in stark contrast to the emotional overwhelm of the man beside her. While he's being undone by the experience, she remains centered, grounded in her craft. She knows something he's just discovering, that there are forms of wealth that have nothing to do with money, forms of power that have nothing to do with position. Her hair pulled back in a practical bun, her simple uniform, her working-class presentation, none of it diminishes her in this moment. If anything, it amplifies the impact of what she's doing. She doesn't need the trappings of wealth to command this room. Her fingers on the keys are enough. The economics of dignity. This image also invites us to think about the economics of dignity and talent. How many people with extraordinary gifts are working in jobs that don't recognize or value those gifts? How much human potential goes unrealized because of accidents of birth, lack of access to education, or the simple necessity of paying bills? The woman at this piano clearly had training at some point. You don't play at this level without years of study. But somewhere along the way, circumstances led her to work in service rather than on the concert stage. Maybe she couldn't afford to continue her education. Maybe family obligations intervened. Maybe she faced discrimination or lack of opportunity. Maybe she simply needed to eat and pay rent, and service work was what was available. The billionaire in this scene has likely never had to make those kinds of choices. His talents, whatever they are, have been cultivated and rewarded. He's had access to the best schools, the best networks, the best opportunities. The system has worked for him, and so it's easy to believe that the system is fair, that people end up where they end up because of merit alone. But this moment reveals the lie in that belief. Here is someone with extraordinary merit, exceptional talent, working in a position that society deems less valuable. The disconnect between her ability and her station isn't about her worth, it's about the arbitrary and often cruel ways that opportunity gets distributed. The temporary nature of transcendence. As powerful as this moment is, we must also reckon with its limitations. When the last note fades and the applause dies down, what happens next? Does the billionaire offer her a scholarship, a job, a chance to develop her talent? Or does everyone return to their regularly scheduled programming, moved but ultimately unchanged? There's a risk in these viral stories of unlikely talent, and this image has all the hallmarks of content designed to go viral, that they become poverty porn or inspiration porn. We feel good watching them. We share them with captions about never judging a book by its cover, and then we move on without examining the systems that create such disparities in the first place. The billionaire's tears, if they come, might be genuine, but tears are cheap compared to action. It's easy to be moved by a beautiful performance. It's much harder to restructure your company to pay living wages, to fund arts education in underserved communities, to use your wealth and influence to create more equitable access to opportunity. This is not to diminish the emotional truth of the moment captured in this image. The man's reaction appears genuine, and genuine emotion is valuable. But emotion without action is just sentimentality. It makes us feel like good people without requiring us to do the hard work of actually being good. What she carries forward. For the woman at the piano, this moment might be vindicating, but it's also complicated. She's proven something, yes, but to whom? And why should she have had to prove it? Why should her dignity and worth have been contingent on delivering a performance that moved the right person? There's an exhausting quality to always having to be exceptional in order to be seen as human. Many people from marginalized or working-class backgrounds carry this burden, the sense that they must be twice as good, must never make mistakes, must perform their worthiness again and again for audiences that start from a position of skepticism. After this night, she'll likely return to her regular work. The memory of this moment will stay with her, the way the room fell silent, the way even the powerful man beside her was moved. But she'll also carry the knowledge that she needed to be extraordinary to receive even temporary recognition. Average wouldn't have been enough. Good wouldn't have been enough. She had to be undeniable. That's a heavy thing to carry, even in a moment of triumph. The story we tell ourselves, images like this resonate because they tap into narratives we desperately want to believe, that talent will out, that worth will be recognized, that the arc of justice bends toward fairness. We want to believe in meritocracy, even as we live in a world that consistently demonstrates otherwise. The truth is messier and less satisfying. Some talented people are discovered and celebrated. Many more live and die in obscurity, their gifts known only to themselves and perhaps a small circle of friends and family. The woman in this image got her moment. But for every person who gets such a moment, there are thousands who don't. This doesn't mean the moment isn't meaningful. It is. But its meaning lies not in some fantasy that the world is fundamentally just, but rather in the small, temporary ruptures in injustice that remind us what could be possible if we built our differently. The power of bearing witness. Perhaps the most we can hope for from a moment like this is that it plants a seed of doubt in the minds of those witnessing it. Maybe the billionaire goes home that night and can't sleep, replaying the evening in his mind. Maybe he starts to wonder about other people he's dismissed, other stories he's failed to see. Maybe, just maybe, it becomes one of many experiences that slowly reshape how he moves through the world. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe by next week it's just an anecdote, the rough edges of discomfort smoothed away by time and self-justification. We can't know from a single frozen image. What we can know is that in this captured moment, something true is happening. A woman is playing piano with skill and soul. A man is being moved beyond his usual defenses. A room full of people is experiencing something together that cuts through the usual social scripts. And perhaps that's enough. Not to solve anything, not to fix the fundamental inequities of wealth and opportunity, but to remind us that they exist, that they matter, and that the person serving your drink might contain depths you've never bothered to imagine. The piano continues to sound. The chandeliers continue to sparkle, and for just this moment, the carefully maintained boundaries between people dissolve into something more fundamental, the shared experience of beauty, the common vulnerability of being human, and the unsettling recognition that we've been wrong about what and who matters.